Welcome to the Reiki Business Collective, where Reiki business owners come together to share information, support one another, and serve the world. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, interviewing and inviting Reiki business owners to join the conversation in the Reiki Business Collective Facebook group. Thank you. Welcome to this episode of the Reiki Business Collective. We are speaking with Tarantino Juhola, a holistic trauma coach and Reiki master incorporating shamanic Reiki, sound healing, and channeled coaching into her practice. She is currently completing her Chakra Clairvoyant Coach certification from Reiki Cafe University and uses her own experiences to help others heal their trauma, triggers, and limiting beliefs to move from fear to fearlessness. RJ, welcome to Reiki Business Collective.
Thank you, Christian. It's really exciting to be here with you today.
Oh, RJ, thank you so much. So glad to have you, honored to have you. So RJ, can you please just start off by telling us a little bit about your business?
Yes. So my business is Fear to Freedom. And it's interesting because freedom has shown up for me so much in the past year. The word freedom, and that's how initially it came across, was freedom. And it's funny because I was reviewing some goals I set last year. I was reviewing my forecast journal that I had started last May. I was reviewing this whole series of goals that I put together. And I realized over this short period of time, maybe this 2-month span, freedom had shown up over and over, that I wanted freedom. And then I heard that I needed to write a book. I'm like, oh, great. I'm like, well, y'all want to give me what the book title is? And they said, yes, Fear to Freedom in 21 days. And actually it was even better than that because I heard 12 days and they wanted me to do this 12-day video series and launch it in my Facebook group, which I did. And I finished the 12-day series and literally my guides, I could hear them laughing. And they said, okay, great. Thank you. Now that you have that done, it's actually 21 days. You reversed the numbers, but we're glad that happened because you got those first 12 chapters done. And I just gasped and went, oh, you've got to be kidding me. That was brilliant, because had you just simply said, now go write this book, I would have freaked out. I'm like, okay, now y'all have to give me the additional 9 chapters to get to the full 21, but we'll get there. So I began experiencing the feeling of freedom in my own life about, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 years ago. I didn't realize what that felt like. I'd always felt like a bird in a cage from as far back as I can remember. Now I grew up in a very abusive home and married into very much similar abuse and stayed in that for about 20 years. And so about 10 years ago, I started my healing and started my journey to find freedom. And it's really been about my own inner work to get there. And so when I fell into Reiki, it was for my own healing. And then all of a sudden I could just so clearly hear I needed to do the master's program. I needed to teach. I needed to help others. And I was so resistant. I was like, oh my goodness, no. No. But I continued to follow the call. And during my Reiki Master's program, I thoroughly fell in love with teaching, fell in love with helping others heal and recognizing what a difference the healing had made in my own life, and that it brought me to the place of feeling free and experiencing freedom. And that I realized I was no longer living a life in fear. And instead, I was living intentionally with freedom. And then as it came around for this year, I've been one of those people that have for years tried to find my word of the year. Couldn't do it. Always got this block. It used to really frustrate me. Like, all my friends have a word of the year. I do not. What's wrong with me? I can't come up with it. And last December, my guides were very clear. They jumped in before I had finished asking the question of what's my word for the year. And they said, well, silly, it's freedom. I'm like, okay, well, how do I use that? How do I use that as my word for the year? And they very clearly explained, as you continue living intentionally and you are making decisions in your life, whether it's a day-to-day decision or, a bigger, more impactful decision, ask, does this lead me to freedom, or does this take me away from freedom? And even as I'm saying that, like, my whole body just got shivers and cold. It is chilling up. And it's just, it was such a gift, such a beautiful gift. And that is the gift I am called to share with others. So that's really the backbone to my business. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yes, that is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, RJ. And I am positive that that story and that experience will absolutely resonate with listeners who are saying, yes, me too. Yes, I totally get that. Probably there are listeners who are also saying, yes, I also have a hard time with that word of the year thing. So so that is great, RJ. So RJ, talk to us, take us back to those days, those moments, that time when you were contemplating moving forward with the business, and maybe some of the feelings that you had, maybe some of the fears, and maybe even some of the fears that people might have when contemplating starting their own Reiki business.
Yeah, definitely. So being a member of the Reiki Cafe community and Reiki Cafe University, and having had taken some courses with them, I did my master program through them and jumped right into the Reiki and Manifesting Abundance course. That was truly a game changer for me. I want to say, is it seven modules in that course. And I have taken other, healing your fears or healing your blocks, or, tapping through this and that, the 21-day tapping, which I love. I love all these modalities and I incorporate them, but they weren't getting me to where I knew I could be. I knew I wasn't still going deep enough. There was something about the way that this particular course, the Reiki and Manifesting Abundance course, was laid out, but the way it really has you tune in, and the way the questions are asked, it really has you going inward and journaling. And if you do the work, right, because it's one thing to get a course and to kind of, oh yeah, that's good. But do you sit down and do you really truly want to work through the work? Notice that's the first key. Okay. So you can invest in 1,000 different things and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if you don't show up for the work, then you're not you're not going to receive the benefit of that program. So I showed up, I did the work. It really resonated with me. And I really began to identify what my blocks were, what my fears are, where they're hiding in my body, in my energy centers, and how that's affecting where I wanted to go. And so I knew right then and there I wanted to do the chakra clairvoyant coaching certification program through RCU, Reiki Cafe University, because it also included a full business module and business support and coaching support calls. So for me, it was a great integration into figuring out how am I going to build a Reiki business, and what does a Reiki business even look like for me? Reiki, oh my goodness. I think this is one of the things that I just love so dearly about Reiki. As a business, it's customizable to what resonates for you, what is your style, right? And how do you want to connect with other people? Only in person, only distance, a combination of both. Maybe it's with animals and not humans. Just so many different things. So I set out a goal to show up for as many live calls as I possibly could. And I did what I did in the manifesting course. I did what I did in my master's course. I went all in. It was my priority. And I also had made an investment that my checking account said I couldn't make, but my guides and my intuition said yes. And I'm like, oh, y'all, if I do this and it does not work out, you all realize I have to pay for this still, right? So just really, it became that moment where I said, I believe in myself. And I knew it, and I felt it in my core. And it was probably the first time that I really showed up and said, okay, I don't understand the how. I'm going to leave that to you. And so when I say you and they, I channel and they are usually on my right. So I apologize. Anybody that's listening, when I say you, they, whatnot, that's usually what's happening is my guides are talking to me. It was just so powerful. I felt it and I believed it and I knew it to be true. And then I realized, my earliest memory of what I wanted to be when I grew up was, I used to call it a baby doctor, right? So obviously we now know probably an obstetrician. And growing up with a narcissistic, controlling mother, she knew that would take me away from her. So she poo-pooed that idea and, laid out all the negative aspects of that. So then the next piece came up and it was, well, I'm going to be an attorney. And corporate or contract law through corporate law. And then, I had this beautiful dream of moving on to the Supreme Court because I so desperately wanted to help people. And that was where I thought my calling was going to be, in line with helping people. How can I help the masses? How can I protect people? And again, things came up. I had a male judge when I was 20 years old tell me that good moms did not become attorneys. Meanwhile, of course, my own mother was telling me I couldn't do that and shouldn't do that. So I came away from that. And when Reiki came into play and I really started understanding and practicing the precepts, practicing Reiki, starting to see clients, I began to understand how I was now helping people. And seeing the transitions, seeing the shifts, seeing their healing is just an absolute gift for me. Where my mind immediately goes then when I say that is, and I think this is one reason why a lot of us get caught up in why we don't want to charge. And there's been a lot of this conversation recently in our various Reiki communities about charging for sessions. And even creating boundaries, right? When you get that person that comes to you that's homeless, but has still found you because, you know, they still have access to the internet and you know, and I have a few of these in my private group. And then working through, you know, do I charge? Do I not charge? How do I maneuver through this? Because my heart center says I want to help as many people as I can. And then there's that inner dialogue between, well, yes, I could spend my days giving away the sessions, but then how do I pay my bills? Right? And then I always go back to Sensei Usui and his experience, right? And we know that people need to show up ready to invest in themselves and to also take on, and what I've experienced is by investing in themselves, they show up more for their own healing. They're more invested in their healing as opposed to when we just give away the sessions or charge very minimally for these sessions. But to get there and to stay there, you have to really do the inner work of why am I charging and why would I not charge, right? And really taking a look at that. I'm not suggesting that one is better than the other. If you're going to have a Reiki practice as a business, the word business, right, would certainly indicate that you are making money. And that's okay because money is simply energy, right? So I'm spending my energy in the session and opening up the space, holding space for a client. And the client in return for the energy I have given is giving me money as their energy, right? So we've now exchanged energy. And I feel like that's a very beautiful thing. I actually, out of the gate, in my area, I am the highest priced Reiki practitioner. My clients show up, but my clients show up and they do the work. I'm not seeing 20 clients a week at $50, to pay my bills, but I don't need to because I'm showing up and with the intention, and it's a Reiki intention. I'm here. Send me the clients that are meant for me. And that's what I think is so beautiful, right? It doesn't matter how many Reiki practitioners there are. There's billions of people in the world, and there's a right fit for each of us. We don't need to compete with each other. Let's support each other in business. We can refer out to each other. And that's where I really came with, okay, people that come to me that need Reiki in reduced pricing or asking for free sessions. I have several options. I can refer them out to another Reiki practitioner that I know is more affordable for them. I can also guide them to free resources that are available. get them in my group, find other groups. It doesn't have to just be with me. I can support other Reiki practitioners that I know are really offering resources in their groups that may be helpful for this particular person. Excuse me. And so I can still help that person, and I can still continue in my Reiki business and paying my bills and living an abundant life. Just because I'm a Reiki practitioner doesn't mean I've taken some kind of oath of poverty. No, I'm very crown chakra oriented, I've discovered. Very, very lofty goals and dreams. But it's really about getting in and doing the work. And I think that that's where a lot of us get stuck in growing our businesses. What I see, I'm in a number of different Reiki communities. Very involved with, I'm actually a transformation guide apprentice in the Reiki Cafe University. And so I'm also very involved in Reiki Cafe community. And my experience, when people are struggling in growing their Reiki business, it always comes back to what they're needing to unearth and uncover and heal in their own life, right? Where are we holding the fear in our body? What is the root cause of that fear, right? What is our solar plexus saying, right? Our solar plexus is all about who am I and who am I not? So how comfortable are we in that knowing? Because if you don't have that, then that's going to hold you back in your business, right? You're not going to have those boundaries. And boundaries tend to often be more heart chakra centered, but they do really kind of start in the solar plexus because you've got to really have a strong foundation. And I'm going to digress here for a second, because when I say foundation, in my head, I think, well, my foundation really sucked in life. So I didn't have that foundation. Does that mean I can't have that foundation? You absolutely can. You can build those foundations anytime in your life. I look at every second of the day as a brand new opportunity to start again. I don't need to wait for tomorrow. It can be this next second, right? So I can build and nourish and nurture my chakras and my healing every second of the day. I might have gotten triggered 10 minutes ago, and I can get wrapped up in that triggering moment. And a lot of times when we're healing, when we get triggered, then it can kind of cause a secondary trigger of, oh man, I thought I was more healed than this, and I've let this trigger me. Oh, I've got so much more work to do. I take the perspective of going, well, crap, that really triggered me. Okay. How long, and I hope this isn't offensive to anybody, because this is what I say. How long do I want to sit in my shit? And there's been times, and I will admit, I will go, looks like I'm going to sit in my shit in this one for a hot minute. Yep, this one might be a little longer than normal. I'm not ready to let it go. But then what I love is as you progress through your healing, you start to come to this really cool place of going, well, why? Why do I want to sit in it for a longer period of time? What is that about? Oh, because I'm kind of liking being mad right now. oh crap, why am I liking being mad and angry right now? Because that brings my energy down, right? That means I'm vibrating at a much lower frequency, which isn't good for me. It's not good for my body. It's definitely not good for manifesting. I'm not, right? We manifest at the frequency in which we are vibrating. So if I'm vibrating from a place of anger, all I'm doing is saying, bring more of that frequency into my life. So I've begun this practice of continuously asking why. And I'll do it with my clients. And they'll just be like, what do you mean? Like, well, why? And you'll get that first answer. Don't stop there. Ask again. Why? And keep asking until that release happens. And oftentimes with my clients, when I'm working that process with them, it will result in a lot of tears. And that's when I can tell, oh, okay, they've hit that final inner why. They've cracked open what was kind of lurking in the shadows for them, right? And it's that stuff, that goo that's lurking in the shadows, that's hiding in the body, that holds us back, keeps us small. In today's world, especially with 2020 being what it was and where it has moved us into, it really catapulted us into the technological age of doing business, right? So really what I'm saying here is social media. And social media is very tricky because if you're not feeling strong in your root chakra and in your sacral chakra and in your solar plexus, which these are all really about the earth chakras, right? You're not going to want to be seen. You'll want to play small. And as we move up to, sort of like middle world, which is heart chakra, and then upper world, which is throat and third eye and crown, and you really heal up through your chakras, then you start to lose the imposter syndrome. You start to notice when you're playing the comparison game, right? Because as we compare ourselves to others, and I caught myself in this literally this morning. I caught myself, I was excited earlier this week. I did a reel. I did actually Monday, Tuesday, I did a handful of things on social media that was way outside my comfort zone. And I got some really great responses. But then I saw somebody this morning had done something very similar and had like 2,000 views. And I went and checked my little one and I'm like, that was pretty good. Like I got a new app to put this whole video thing together. I got the captionings in, like all the things. And I thought it was really pretty cool. I got great music to go with it. I stepped outside my comfort zone and I'm like sitting on 200 views. What the heck did I do wrong? And I sat back and said, you know what? Well, so really what happened was when I asked those questions, I hear my guides talking. And, what I heard in that was, yes, but your 200 views got to the people who most needed it because that is your daily intention. May I be presented to the people who most need to find me. the people that are a great match for me and for them, right? And because it's not just about me. It's about the client, the person that is seeking the healing. It needs to be an energetic match. And I'm so comfortable with saying no to a client. Like, I could I use the additional income? Absolutely. But I would rather say no to a client if that energy doesn't feel right to me, or if I go and do a coffee chat with somebody, whether it's virtual or in person, and they come back and they say, not at this time. Now, years ago, if somebody had said no to me, I would have internalized that. I would have made that about me. I would have gotten sucked into the rabbit hole of going, what's wrong with me? Why am I not good enough? Why am I not worthy? Now, I say, thank you for that opportunity. And I've started a new relationship with somebody. It's not going to move into my business, but I've met a new fabulous person, and I can refer them to somebody else who's a better energetic match for them in this time in their life. And maybe down the road will be more of an energetic match, and perhaps then we'll work together. And I let that go. I don't get sucked down that rabbit hole of what's wrong with me, because I've done the work. And I really want to say that when I use the language, I've done the work, I'm not suggesting I'm done working, right? I view trauma recovery similar to an addiction recovery, right? And what they teach you in addictions, whether it's something from codependency or substance, you are always in recovery. For me personally, I will always be in trauma recovery. Therefore, my work is never done. I'm always evolving. I'm always learning. I'm always investing in myself, because I'm worthy to invest in myself. I'm worthy to continue to grow, to continue to ascend into more peace, and to share that with as many people as the universe brings forth for me to share that with. That was a lot.
Thank you, RJ. That was powerful, and there is a lot there to unpack, because what you really hit upon were quite a few, I believe, core fears for people starting off their own business. You've got the abundance and the money challenges and those questions that you mentioned. You've got this this idea of the flexibility of Reiki and the real possibilities that exist with a Reiki business, and how flexible Reiki is. And so there's a fear that people might either feel like they have to do it one way, that it's always done, or they might also be feeling kind of overwhelmed by all of the possibilities. So there are those challenges. And, of course, then the challenges that we might experience in holding someone else's trauma, and holding space for them to process their own trauma and their own healing. So that's all a lot RJ, thank you for bringing up all of those fears. And if our listeners who are considering starting a business weren't feeling fear yet, they very well may be now.
I'm sorry. This
No.
is meant to bring them, to freedom and fearlessness. But we can't get to freedom. We can't achieve fearlessness until we even begin to recognize and become aware of our fears. And so often, what I've experienced, not only with myself, but with other Reiki practitioners, and really to some degree, regardless of whether they're just starting out or whether they've been kind of trotting this course for 10 years, it's getting in and doing this work, some people call it shadow work, trauma work, whatever the case may be. We don't want to, oftentimes, we're afraid we're going to have to revisit the trauma, right? And that's where a lot of that fear then really starts. But here's what's so beautiful about Reiki, and here's why I chose life as a holistic trauma coach. Because with Reiki, and then again, I bring in shamanic Reiki and coaching into my sessions. But Reiki just sort of takes this backdoor approach to healing, right? As practitioners, we don't need to know the story. We don't need a client to tell us the trauma or to relive that trauma. We can come in with Reiki, hold the space, and trust and know that the Reiki is doing what it needs to do for their highest good and for the highest good of all. And what will happen is, and I'm still searching for a better analogy, but Reiki is just, it's peeling back those layers. And what's so lovely about it is it's peeling back just enough at a time. It's not, my experience is generally that Reiki's not like ripping off a giant scab. It doesn't usually tend to do that until you maybe are really ready. So like I can go into that now. I've done a lot of work, and Reiki can go in and just go ripping that off. Now ask the questions, do your thing. Oh, okay, cool. But Reiki is so divinely intuitive. It knows exactly what the client is ready for and what the client needs to move through and beyond their trauma. And then that's where, for me, in the coaching side of my Reiki business, which is interesting because I think I saw some posts in the Reiki Business Collective recently about like, what else do you add in your Reiki practice? Well, for me, because of the type of clients that I see, I'm specifically working with clients that are ready to move through and beyond their trauma. Coaching was very important for me to have in my business because I can come in and have additional layers of support and different layers of or different modalities to provide my client to move through that healing and see things differently. And, when I talk with other Reiki practitioners that have experienced and are healing in their trauma work, one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of us tend to say something very similar, which is, I now can see my trauma as an event, right? As opposed to seeing my trauma and being in the trauma. I can see it sort of from a security camera point of view. I can see it, but I'm no longer attached to it. I no longer have the emotions that were once attached to it. So I practice self-Reiki every night when I go to bed, every single night. I ask the Reiki to continue flowing through my sleep. And before I drift off into sleep, part of my intention is that I always start Reiki with an intention, is to release what is no longer serving me. And may those releases go to Mother Gaia for her reuse and recycle. And in doing that, each day I find I get lighter and lighter and lighter and more removed from the trauma. I don't forget it. Don't get me wrong. I can recall all of my traumatic experiences very quickly, but I can now say, I can talk about those without being triggered or becoming emotional, because I no longer have emotional attachment. And I now am able to see my worth, my value, that I didn't do anything wrong as a child. I was a freaking child, right? Yeah, so I can release that, and I release it every night. I don't get specific about what I'm releasing, just what no longer serves me, I release. And that has been so powerful and so valuable in my growth and in growing my Reiki business, that where my business has now taken me is to working with VIP clients, right? So I still see my regular clients. I've reduced that part of my business because I'm really now working with $5,000 and $10,000 a month clients that I walk beside them, and they have access to me more than somebody who comes in for one session, right? That I'm really walking with them in this journey, because what happens is when we're going through that deep healing and we're really wanting to catapult our success, whether that's personal success or professional success, what happens is as these triggers come up, you're like, crap, I don't know what to do with this. I know there's a better way. I don't know what that is. And so that's then where they call me and we move through that. But who would have ever thought, right, that I could start working with clients at $5,000 and $10,000 a month? Like, what the heck is that? So there is no ceiling on a Reiki business. No ceiling. It's whatever you put as a ceiling. The universe is like, hey, you just find your niche. Find what is the vibration you want to have in your life on a daily basis. What does that look like? What is it that you are passionate about? And how can you combine your passion and Reiki? Because if you combine the play, and that's very sacral, right? So if I can combine the play in my profession, then am I ever really working? Right? I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. See, that's the thing. I don't want to work. I don't. I want to play. And so then I take it to the next level and go, well, how much play can I do and get paid for it? Now, that's a really fun place to be. But if you've noticed, have I been really specific about my business? For me, I really haven't. I've been very open to universe, you guide me. Reiki, you guide me. Guides, you guide me. You show me what is it that I'm showing up for on a daily basis. And day by day, as I get more clear and I'm able to listen more clearly, I just show up, do what they call me to do, and do it with joy. And when shit hits the fan, because it will, that's the thing, right? It's going to happen because life is ebb and flow. Healing is ebb and flow. And when you can lean into the ebb and flow and go, okay, this just feels really icky right now. What is it that I need to learn from this? How can I lean into the ick for a moment? And that's really where I've learned. Sometimes when I say I need to really sit in this longer, is because I recognize I have more to learn. This was an opportunity for growth. This was an opportunity to learn. And now how do I take that and apply that to my personal and professional life? And that can feel really scary for people because you don't want to do the work. Then what I ask my clients when that comes up is, then how would you like to live the rest of your life? Do you want to continue living your life from a fear-based place? And what would life look like for you if you were living your life from a place of fearlessness and a place of freedom? What does that look like? And then literally going right in with them and doing a future meditation with them and pulling them into this meditation, having them see that future in freedom, having them experience all of their senses in this, from this place of freedom, and recognizing, when would you like to be there at this place that you're envisioning right now? 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Let's lock that into place. Let's lock that into your timeline. And now let's let the magic begin and let the healing begin. It doesn't need to be a fearful project, a fearful task, a fearful place to be. And so my perspective on that then becomes truly that, a perspective, right? How do you decide as an individual to look at your healing journey? And that you get to make that choice. You get to decide how you're going to experience life. And you get to decide if you're just simply going to sit back and let life happen to you, or if you're going to take it and say, all right, universe, how are we going to co-create today? What kind of magic are we going to throw in today? And how much fun are we going to have today? And in that, how many other people can I help? How many other people can I touch to help them find peace and joy and happiness in their everyday, moment by moment life? And to see that, yeah, crap's gonna happen, but I know how to handle that now. I know that when those things pop up, I don't have to look at it from a victim perspective. Instead, I can say, this is my life. This is happening. This is what I accept. This is what I don't accept. Here's my boundaries around that. Here's the work I need to jump into. Who I need to call my mentor. I call my mentor. Don't get me wrong. So I help other people, but I've got a handful of people on speed dial that I go to on a regular basis, right? So again, I continue in my healing. And I've chosen to not live my life from a place of fear anymore.
Well, wonderful, RJ. That is quite inspiring. You know, I had the image of as you were speaking of just a gate opening and just the water tumbling down. And I think really it almost seems to me as though what you're getting at is that in order to move that fear aside, it's almost like we need to unlock that gate of all of the hard work and then allow all of that water to flow through. That once we unlock the gate and we work through our own healing journey, then the water, the flow can take place to move us to freedom in our businesses. So that is beautiful, RJ. Thank you. So RJ, I'm sure that you know we could listen to you all day talking about these inspiring things and getting us really motivated to go out there and move our businesses forward without fear. And you know, I know that you are out there doing great things in the world, and your time is limited for sure. So RJ, can you please just offer us any final thoughts and where people can get a hold of you and what you have going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, final thoughts. You know, really, you can, and it is your birthright, by the way. And if somebody hasn't told you this before, I'm going to tell you right now. You have permission to live life on your terms, regardless of the trauma that has happened in your life, and regardless of how you may get triggered today or in the future. Because at every moment of the day, you have the opportunity to decide, am I going to drown in this, or am I just going to float, right? Am I just going to let it wash over? I can take this as a cleansing opportunity and I can release. And what can I learn? I choose to see life as a learning opportunity and an opportunity of growth. And I'm not going to get stuck in those old pains and those old triggers and those old fears. That's over here. I'm not there anymore. I'm moving forward, right? And my future self is doing phenomenally well. So, you know, and that's really, that's an inspiration for me. Oh, my future self, she's already got this. And this is what she's already doing over here. So I just need to play catch up, right? It's individual choice. And the reality is, you have to decide what you want to do, because there are a lot of people that, for whatever reason, do like it there, right? And that usually does still come back to fear. But if you've got that fear, that is going to hold you back in your business until you can begin to almost embrace the fear and ask, what is this fear here to teach me? That fear is going to show up not only in your personal life, but it's going to show up in your professional life, and it's going to hold you back. So just know that there are really good people, really qualified people, trauma-informed people, whether, that is with licensed therapists or with trauma-informed practitioners like myself. I'm not a therapist. And I never, ever, state that what I do is in relation to therapy. That is not it. I have a very different approach. So there are many great people out there that will walk the journey with you. That's not just going to, let you fall on your butt and, drown in fear. So find those people, find the energetic match. They're there. And if that happens to be with me, that's amazing. And I would feel very, very honored to hold that space for you and to walk that journey with you. And I believe across the board on social media, you can find me if you search in at Fear to Freedom Healing. You'll find me on Facebook. I believe my Facebook group is also the same. TikTok is the same. Instagram is the same. I got very, very fortunate with that. The universe really opened that door. So at Fear to Freedom Healing, and we could probably pop a link as well too. So, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll pop a link. So, so super excited. And, if this really helps one person, just one, our time, and for me, our time together today was absolutely worth it. And that's where I go. I don't need to save the world, right? One person at a time. That's it. One person. So.
That's beautiful, RJ. Thank you. And yes, I 100% agree that if any of these discussions with the Reiki Business Collective helps even one Reiki business or potential Reiki business owner, it's all worth it. And so thank you so much for being a part of that conversation, RJ. It is a great honor to have you here, to have you share your inspiring words, to give us all a good kick in the butt, to get us going.
Sorry, told you I would be that person.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I love it. I know our listeners have enjoyed it as well. So RJ, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of your inspiring words.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christian, so much for having me. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate what you bring to the Reiki community. Thank you.
Thank you. And we appreciate what all of you bring to the Reiki community, sending you blessings and best wishes for your Reiki journey. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, share, and join in the conversation at facebook.com/groups/Reiki Biz, B-I-Z. Blessings and best wishes for your Reiki journey.